I just saw Jordan sold the Hornets for $3 billion. David Beckham with Miami, he got it for $25 million. You see LeBron and these guys are buying pickleball teams. I always draw so many parallels between sports and business because they really are just like so similar. People want to say like business is family, and it's not. But if you're not holding up your end of the bargain, we got to get you out of here.
That's it.
If I want to accomplish big things in business or sports or whatever the case is, right? The stakes just become higher. If I can't solve $1 million problem, how am I going to be worth 10 million or 100 million? You made a lot of money in your football career. What did you do with it?
I blew some of it too.
You were the rookie of the year,
Yeah.
first round pick, had a long career. I mean, to go from killing quarterbacks to now just crushing it in business, man, I want to hear about the transition.
I had a TV show on Fox Sports, and then I had my MMA company that was also at the time at Fox Sports. And so when everything shut down, I was sitting around like, I don't know what to do.
What's going on, Wealth Builders? Today, I've got the former Rookie of the Year in the NFL. This guy was a defensive monster for the San Diego Chargers, and now he's a defensive, I don't even know if you want to call it defensive. He's in the insurance game now, so maybe he's a defensive monster in the business world too. I got Shawn Merriman. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, dude. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, same here. Dude, it was good to see you in action.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I, kind of watching from a distance at the
WealthCon.
WealthCon.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty dope to see.
Yeah, we met backstage at WealthCon, and I was like, bro, you live here? We got to get you on the podcast, man, because, I mean, to go from killing quarterbacks to now just crushing it in business, man, I want to hear about the transition and everything, dude.
Yeah. No, it's been fun because, I'll tell anybody this, and you probably went through it too, that first year or two when you're done playing ball.
Yep.
You're like, what in the hell?
What am I supposed to do
Like,
with
what
my
are you
life?
supposed to do? And the crazy thing is I had plenty of things lined up. Right, I went straight to TV with NFL Network, and I was doing stuff with my Lights Out clothing line, and I had stuff lined up. But like some days, I would get done early, and I'm like, "What is this? This is my life? That's it?"
Did you want to like just golf or do hobbies? Like, what'd you do?
No, I just went to go lift more weights.
Yes, it looks like it.
Just like.
Are you bigger today than you were when you were playing? You look huge.
I am. I'm in better shape. I'll say that because when I played. I was lifting a lot of weights. I didn't really care a whole lot about my diet until like my last year or two when I was done.
Yeah.
Because I knew I would just go out and burn it off, right? But the truth of the matter is, like if you really take care of your body, you can diet and all that stuff. You can tell the difference. And I feel better.
Yeah. No, you look good, man.
Thanks,
I had Von Miller here a couple weeks ago, and he just loves golf. And I mean, he's still playing. He's crushing. But he's like, dude, I just love the game, man. That's what he does with his free time.
I want to I'll go out to Top Golf and play around and stuff. Probably once a year I go to Tim Tebow's event. He has a big charity event down in Jacksonville that I go to every year. That's like the only time I play golf. Other than that, man, it's like
I'll go with you to that event. That sounds fun.
Yeah, no, it's big, man. They got obviously Tim Tebow, he does so damn much for like people, man. Like and when you actually get around them and see what they do, it's pretty impressive.
I heard his foundation is insane.
It's insane. And the amount of people that he touches across the world, the Philippines and Africa, like they have these live auctions, right? They start bidding on certain things. And next thing you know, like people are sending jets to different countries, like, hey, you take my jet, I'll take your jet. And I said, hold on, are we just passing around jets to fly across the world? But it's one of those events, man. You go and see it, you're hooked. I went my first time like 7-8 years ago, and I've been every year since.
I got to get Tebow on the podcast. That's one of my heroes. As a Christian, as a just athlete, as a guy who's like doing so much for the world, it's insane. But yeah, dude. So, I mean, you're in business now. You got an insurance company, you got an MMA company. Tell me about those.
Yeah. So, I got Lights Out Insurance Agency, which is under a company called Family First Life that I've been working with for a long time. But, it's crazy how I got into the industry because it was by mistake, during the pandemic. And, my MMA company were based in Los Angeles. Most of our fights were in, Burbank, San Diego, California area. Southern California. And then when the pandemic happened, the TV show stopped, so I couldn't go. I had a TV show on Fox Sports.
Yep.
Going 3-4 days a week. And then I had my MMA company that was also at the time at Fox Sports. And so when everything shut down, I was sitting around like, I don't know what to do. Like it was my first time in my adult life of not doing anything. And so, one of my best friends of 17 years introduced me to Shawn Mike and some other people, whatnot. And I ended up getting my license. Never thought that I would use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like,
I mean, you're a sports guy.
yeah, I'm just like, whatever. And I quickly found out just the upside in the opportunities that's in the insurance space, right?
Yeah.
And so what I immediately started to do is everybody who I knew that was kind of taking a hit, if they own real estate companies and they couldn't sell and do anything, because they were selling insurance from home.
Yeah.
So now, we just actually this past Friday we crossed over 245 agents in the agency in the country.
Yeah.
And then I want to get as many people on board as I can to help out. And there's more people in this country that needs insurance and needs help than there are agents that's actually selling insurance. It's insane.
Really?
It is.
Well, I mean, everyone needs insurance, right?
Right.
So there's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, man, we we're one of the fastest growing agencies in the country. And then coincidentally enough, Family First Life is the title sponsor for my MMA league.
That's good.
So I got into MMA. I started training back in 2006.
You trained for yourself.
I trained for myself. So
did you want to fight, or you like just the?
I did.
Yeah.
I did actually. And what happened was I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, like right outside of Washington, D.C. area. So my uncles and family were professional boxers. So we naturally grew up just boxing, right? The cookouts, my grandma was like, "Hey, go get the gloves." So, I mean, like we had one of those families where you would think that somebody's grandma is not going to say, "Hey, go get the gloves."
Yeah.
And then
were you big back then too?
No. I was just scrappy, man. I always loved to scrap. But I grew up around a boxing and fighting family. And so Jay Glazer from Fox Sports, I was training in his gym one day and I was just hitting the mitts. He said, "Man, you can box if you ever tried MMA." Yeah. So I said, "Okay, cool, whatever. I'll go in there." And the next day I showed up and there's Randy Couture in front of me. And I'm like, "Hold on." Yeah. I'm like, "Hold on, what's going on?" So anyway, Randy spent like 2 or 3 hours with me, just pummeling, learning how to use my hands, leverage, opening my hips. And what happened was that movement and using my hands transitioned to the football field. Yeah. And so I started doing it every offseason because I felt much better learning, MMA and just mixed martial arts in general. And so I ended up launching Lights Out Extreme Fight in 2019. We're on Fubo Sports, Fubo TV. Okay. We got a big fight coming up August 26th in San Diego. Got it. At Casino Palma. Okay. It'll be outside. First time we'll be outside at night, and they got this cool view. We got drones with cameras, flashing lights off of the mountains. I mean, this is we're going a little bit, ahead of time, and so we'll be live on Fubo Sports, Fubo TV. So it's been fun, man, being in this space because I think that just live sports in general right now is where it's at. The live sports business is top notch right now.
Well, look at like just the industry as a whole, man. I mean, I'm seeing these hedge fund guys buy these franchises. It's like I just saw Jordan sold the Hornets for $3 billion. The Hornets suck, and they get $3 billion. Yeah, it's just like, what the heck is going on here?
Well, and he bought it for 180
million. Yeah, like less than 20 years ago, and it's like that's a good investment. 180 to $3 billion.
I mean, it's crazy. And the exciting part is that we're starting to see a lot of tech companies get involved in live sports. Like Amazon go and they pay $1 billion for a Thursday night football game. Yeah. Because live sports is the only time you can actually get real time data. Yeah. Right? There's no DVR, there's no this, and you're getting actual data right there on the spot. So the next couple of months we're going to be introducing like these tech verticals. Where you can just get more data, live data while you're watching, right? How strong a guy's punch is, how accurate it is, and we're feeding the audience, feeding the fans. Right.
I remember there was that one show called like Sports Science or something.
Yeah, John Brinkus.
Yeah, that did that. That was a cool show.
I was just with him, and he got a cool little interactive thing called the Brinks. Okay. Brinks TV. That he's doing. I was just with him actually in Atlanta about 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So we're starting introducing a lot of these new tech verticals that's going to be cool because ultimately you want more fans engaged, right? That's at home. Yep. And playing in the NFL, and people don't understand like how big fantasy football changed in the NFL. Yeah. It changed the landscape of the NFL because now the fans felt like they were involved. So all I'm trying to do now is get more people information, our fans, and so they can feel like they're involved, being predictive, win prizes, doing things, flashing up on the screen. Yeah,
you're making the game way more interactive.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what fantasy football did, for sure. Yeah. It's funny because like Apple just showed their new, VR, AR thing.
Crazy.
When I look at that, I'm like, all right, this is what I've been saying in the future. Like I'm a big believer in the metaverse and crypto and all these things. And it's like, they're still a ways away, but they will happen. And when I look at like what Apple's doing, I'm like, dude, it's only like we're literally less than probably 3 years away from you sitting courtside or ringside, whatever, and being able to watch the game from the headset, like as if you were there. And you'll pay freaking $5-10 to do it. And it's going to be crazy.
It's coming. It's inevitable. And the cool thing about that is people still want to go to, right? You'll have the people who want to go to the game, get your popcorn, get your food, your drink, and have a good time with your family. But for the most part, when the experience of being at the game and you can do it from home, because you got some people that just don't want to leave the crib. Right?
No,
they don't want to leave home.
Yeah, we got the Super Bowl this year in Vegas, and one of my buddies was telling me, he's like, dude, you gonna go to the Super Bowl? I'm like, oh, it's in Vegas, maybe. And then he was like, yeah, it's like $7,000 for some nosebleed seats and stuff. And I was like, why am I gonna pay $7,000 for I like watching it from home.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm kind of that guy.
Yeah, but you know what? Have your people over, right? Have a good time, have food, cater, whatever it is. But if you're able to do that with this VR, this XR, this metaverse, I mean, we got, even with us, right? We're small time, right? We're not UFC or anything like that, and we're not trying to be the UFC either.
Yeah.
For us, we want to be more interactive, get more people involved, and then kind of grow our own community.
Do you think UFC might buy you one day? Would that be the goal?
Not really the goal. I think that if there's some kind of acquisition or something happen, it'll probably be in the tech space. Because of the other verticals that we're building. Like for Lights Out, man, what we're building, we're more of an incubator than anything else. Right. There's not a day to go by that I get calls from AI companies like, hey, I see what you guys are doing and we want to be involved. How can we put this camera up here to get this data for that? We're going to be announcing some very, very big partnerships here in the next 30 to 60 days. And that to me is being creative and being different. Is more important to me than trying to be like the UFC or anybody else that's out there. Like we can create our own community and be successful with that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Entrepreneurs, if you want to grow your business, there is no better investment than your own personal brand. The smartest thing I ever did was start creating content and investing into my brand. Ever since then, we've been able to triple our business. I've been able to raise more money than ever to continue buying more real estate. And it's all because I create content just like this. Now, a lot of people have asked me, Ryan, how am I supposed to do it? I don't know where to start. I don't know who's going to edit it. I don't know even what kind of setup or camera or anything to do. Well, here's the thing. We can help you with all of that at Pineda Media. We have a podcast checklist that you can actually get for free at pinedamedia.com that's going to go over everything you need on starting a podcast. But to make matters even better, we'll actually edit your podcast for you. We'll repurpose it into short form clips like you see on my Instagram and my TikTok so that people will start seeing those clips and watching your podcast and in turn being customers or investors in your business. So if you want the one-stop solution where you can get everything done for you, plus get the education you need to grow your personal brand, then you need to go to pinedamedia.com and book a free call with our team. You can also go get that free podcast checklist and that training program absolutely free by just going there. So go check it out. With the MMA company, I'm just curious, the UFC, what'd they sell for, $4 billion or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
They're worth 12 now.
Good investment. Man, these guys who are buying these leagues and these sports teams, they're making a kill. I mean, look at David Beckham, with Miami. He got it for $25 million, and now he's got Messi, and Messi's going to end up doing the same thing.
Yep.
And, you just look at all these sports franchises. You see LeBron and these guys are buying pickleball teams.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, people understand live, professional sports is big money. I remember when I was in the minor leagues, I would just look in the stands and I'd start counting the fans. I'm like, oh man, they got I was always a business guy at heart. I just didn't know it. But I was like, okay, there's 5,000 people in the stands. Let's say they all paid $10 for a ticket and they pay, maybe $20 for whatever, right? So they're all in at $30 and 5,000 people, you start doing the math and you're like, okay, they made $150,000 tonight. They've got however many employees, not a ton, servicing them. I'm like,
parking. I mean, you could just keep racking it up.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, in baseball, we play, in the big leagues, they play 80 home games. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, they're making good money.
It's a lot of money. And People,
TV deals.
TV deals. Then that's where the biggest
Yeah.
is right now. The biggest is in the streaming and TV. Like,
Yeah.
we just, our last fight crossed over the top 10 most watched on football sports.
Okay.
Right now, and they got soccer on there. They got a bunch of like really cool programs, and everybody's kind of looking at me like, what's going on? How are you guys doing this? And for one, it's the fans letting us know that they like what we're putting out, they like the product, like the fights and all that. But I think more importantly, the platforms that I got the ability, like, it is, man. It's all being able to talk about what you're building, so more people understand and see what you're doing. People just get interested.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah. Well, I think the world of content is the most lucrative thing right now. I mean, like, sports is content, this is content, YouTube's, TikToks, like, it's all just consumption. Netflix is content, right? Like, the world of just entertainment and content is really where the money's at.
It's content is king, but I'll take it even a step further than that. It's a necessity for what the world is going to be, what it's kind of transitioning to, right? From cable TV to streaming.
Yeah.
People are going to pull the plug on cable here in the next 3 to 5 years. Cable is not going to be around.
Right.
And so with these streaming companies, they need content.
Yep.
And so when you have, quality content that makes sense, that's where the money comes in at. But then you start to build these other verticals around, right? Not just putting something on TV. Like, how else can we have more people to watch what we're doing? So is there some kind of text messaging thing, some prizes you can win, some prediction? How can you get more people to watch what you're doing? And that's when you really start to look at how you can elevate the content that you're providing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot. Like, I mean, you've seen our office, so we have a lot of different areas.
Y'all got a lot of stuff going on here, man. I walked around all the different departments. You guys got a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, it is. And like, I think about, what's our next space going to look like? And, hopefully we outgrow this here soon. And like, we got to go build something. I'm like, just thinking in my head, what is the future? Because when you build something, I'm not building for today, I'm building for the next 5-10 years. And it's like, man, I can't help but think that a whole bunch of it is just media.
Yeah.
It's just sets. It's, legit, just everything. Because like, to your point too, like I've already been on a few different kind of TV shows and different things. And it's like, yeah, these streaming services need content. Like, I'll produce my own content that comes out on my socials, but there's so many opportunities to sell content like you're doing with your MMA.
Right.
And, to create these TV shows or even live things.
Look, we produce like a 3-hour live show, and there's nothing more nerve-wracking, right? I'm sitting there, everybody's like having a good time. They're drinking.
Are you on the show at all, or you're producing?
No, I'm just, I'm just producing. Like, once in a while during our fights, I'll hop in the booth, right? And I'll talk with our broadcasters and talk, with the guys. Maybe some of the fighters who I've actually seen train with, I'll jump in, here and there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, man, it's me. I'm out in the TV truck. I'm talking to our sponsors, our partners. I'll invite new partners that we're looking to work with to the fight. And so I'm just really walking them through like the next phases of Lights Out.
Right.
And so for me, it's like that also. But I'm talking to them, and in the back, on the side of my head, I'm looking to make sure that, everything is still good on set. So I got the little small cameras, the TVs that's on the broadcasting booth. I'm like talking to them. I'm looking here. I'm talking to them because, it's nerve wracking. You want to make sure that, the production quality is good and everything is on point. And so it is fun when it's over. Yeah. Right. You get in the fight week. We got to, I told you we got to fight next month.
How many fights are you guys doing?
We'll do one every 6 weeks.
Every 6 weeks there's a fight.
Yeah, we'll go by every 6 weeks.
What does UFC do?
They go every week.
That's crazy.
But see, this is the thing that people don't talk about a lot. I think that one of the smartest things, even outside of selling for $4 billion and being worth $12 billion, I think the smartest thing that the UFC did was that Apex.
Yeah.
That they did. Because they were producing content and putting out new content that the rest of the world couldn't get. There was no live sports.
Yeah.
And now because they have over 500 something fighters on their roster, you got to get these guys, you got to keep them active.
Yeah.
If you're an active fighter, you want to fight at least 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And so if you do the math, having over 550 fighters or whatever that number is, and these guys got to fight 3-4 times a year, you can't do it by jumping to an arena every 3 or 4 weeks.
They built their own studio.
They did.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
It's super smart. So now they don't have a problem with content. Don't they what was the reality show that they were doing?
Contender.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Super smart. What do you think of guys like Jake Paul?
You know, it's funny because so I was around Jake when he first started, right after his or around his first fight that he ever had. So I'm really good friends with Shane Mosley. And
he's training him or something, right?
He's back training him. He was training with BJ. I think he's training back with Shane now.
Okay.
So Shane had called me one day. He said, dude, because I've been meaning to go up to his place in Big Bear for a long time.
I got a lot of cabins in Big Bear.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I love it up there. I love training up there. It's the best.
I heard a lot of people do that.
It's hell. It's fun, but it's hell because of the altitude.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Shane hit me up and said, man, I'm training up here. Why don't you come up here? I got Jake and the guys up here staying for a little bit. They're training.
Got it.
Come up here for a week. So I ended up, you know, driving up to Big Bear and hanging out with them.
Yep.
And so when I first saw Jake Paul, I told people, I said, that dude is going to be really good. Like really, really good. And I don't know how good or what professional level, but just remove the whole like social media stuff out of your head.
He's a good boxer as it is.
He's a good boxer. This dude, he was running hills. Yeah. And I've been around that, you know, professional athletes my whole life.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I can see how guys work. And I was like, yeah, he's gonna be good. So I'm not surprised at all of the success he's having. I'm more impressed, not on him being a boxer that he is. He's a much better boxer than he was back then. I'm more impressed of how he turned everything he's built into an empire.
Yeah.
Like I like that part.
He's a great entrepreneur.
He's a great entrepreneur, man, and a great salesman, a great marketer.
Yep.
He's great for the sport, regardless of whether people like it or not.
Yep.
Because he's brought in a new set of eyeballs that people wasn't watching.
Yep.
And he did that. So I'm more impressed by that part of it than anything else.
Yeah. No, you know, people were making fun of him, saying he's never. It's like, bro, this guy keeps selling out fights. He's making lots of people lots of money. He's actually entertaining when he fights. You know, like he's got it all. And then, you know, even just thinking about that, right? I mean, you're seeing these guys like him transition into other forms of entertainment, like boxing. Like, how did you? I mean, I know you're passionate about MMA. Like you said, you've been doing it for almost 20 years. Like, how did you go about starting a league? Did you buy it? Did you just like start it from scratch? How'd you get these TV deals? Like, how'd that all work?
So I had two former partners, and I ended up buying them out.
You bought them out, yep.
And so I moved on from them, but I negotiate all of our TV deals, all the venue deals with casinos.
How does it typically work with those? Like, you don't have to give exact numbers, but how does it typically work?
So, you know, casinos, when we go there, because we, you know, just say we have 1,500 people, right, 2,000 people go to a fight. We know that our fans are going to go and play and gamble in the casino. I mean, my 20 degenerate friends are going to go in and spend six figures. I know that, right? Yeah. So they always come and play and all that. So you kind of bake it in where you get rooms for the fighters, production, operations, you know, have the meals, because all the little things add up when you're talking about 60, 70 people, right?
We throw the big events for WealthCon,
and we know. And so, you know, before you know it, you know, trying to get rooms and everything for 60, 70 people for not one night, but 2 nights. So you got to start baking in some of these deals. You know, fortunately, like I'll go to signings, I'll show up, you know, a Super Bowl event, I'll throw in, you know, 2 hour autograph signing.
Yep.
And just become a partner with the casino.
Yeah. Right.
You become a partner with them. And then once you start showing the upticks they have on the floor, then they want to book you out for, you know, 4 days, 6 days, you know, 4 fights, 6 fights a year. Yep. And so that's how those things go, man. But as far as, you know, the TV deals, I bring in the sponsorship, you know, and then I'm the one kind of working directly with football, with the production. My hands is in everything. Everything that happens with the league. There's nothing that happens that I don't actually touch. So like with the casino, are you just paying for event space and everything? They don't take any profit or anything? Yeah, they pay us. Okay. Yeah, they'll pay us to come. And because, you know, we do. So do they get a piece of the ticket sales? No. So how do they pay you to, like, how do they make money? It's a marketing fee that'll happen. Okay. So they're going to pay you, your company, to come, and then everybody else is going to stay at the casino. They make all that money. Right. People are going to spend money. So I get it. Yeah, and so because we got a proven model of, you know, when we have fights at certain casinos and what we do on the floor. Yeah. And like I said, I got about 20 friends. I know. Where's the next fight at? Casino Palma. Oh, you said San Diego, right? August 26th. What about Vegas? It's all about the commission, man. The Nevada, the athletic commission. Oh, so you don't do many here in Vegas? No, but we want to. Okay. We want to. And my thing is this: why, it's so funny when I first launched Lights Out Extreme Fight, and even now people say, oh, what about the UFC? And I'm like, well, Apple, Samsung didn't stop making phones because of Apple.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Verizon ain't out the business because of Sprint.
Yeah.
Right. Or T-Mobile. And so you have to look at there's a
huge market.
It's a huge market, and it's more importantly, like everybody can't go to the UFC.
Yeah.
They just can't. You know, and whether they're good enough or they don't have the right opportunity, management team, whatever that reason is why they can't get there.
Yeah.
And so when you look for organizations that have the viewership and stuff, that we have a TV partner, these guys want to be on TV because that's what they train for, right?
Yeah.
They know if they get money, they sponsors, the whole nine, if they end up being on TV. So it's kind of it's chaotic. It's a very, very chaotic business.
Yeah.
Very chaotic business. And so when I'll do six shows a day, right? Wow. National, your local Fox, national Fox, local, Toronto stations because we're shown in Canada. And so we'll build a fight for everybody to see nationally and internationally. I did 2 shows in Toronto today alone. Uh-huh. And so as we get closer to the fight, what I'll do is I'll start to tack it down to local media.
Right.
Because then you start to sell more tickets. You want people to come.
Yep.
But starting out, you want to get the viewership on Fubo. You want people to watch all over the country.
Yep.
And out the country. And then as you get about that 2 weeks from the fight, I'll start doing the local press, local media.
Got it. Okay. So you're promoting, the hotels are paying you guys because you're going to bring in all this traffic.
Yep.
And then, you guys get ticket sales and pay-per-view sales.
Yeah.
Is there even pay-per-view sales?
It's more like the TV contract.
Yeah. So the TV pays you per stream, or how's that? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously you get the sponsorship revenue and all that stuff.
Right.
Wealth Builders, if you are trying to grow your real estate investing business, then you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. If you have no idea what Wealthy Investor is, it is our coaching program and community. We have helped thousands of students worldwide grow their business. Now, it doesn't matter if you're just getting started and you're trying to get that first deal. We can help you do that. If you're trying to scale your business and go from a few deals a year to a few deals a month, or even 7 figures a year, we can help you do that too. In fact, last year alone, we had over 30 students do over $1 million in revenue. And I'd love for you to be the next one. So it's pretty simple. If you're trying to grow your business and wholesale more homes, or flip more homes, or buy more rental properties, then you need to go to wealthyinvestor.com and book a free call with our team. It's super simple. We'll go on a strategy call with you and figure out how we can help you grow according to your needs. So all you got to do is go to wealthyinvestor.com, book the free call with the team, and we'll see you there. So how does, how many fighters you got in your roster?
So like this next fight alone, we'll have about 14 fights that night.
Wow.
From 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
You can do 14 fights that quick?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yes, because some of those are amateurs, which is 2-minute rounds. Right. So we'll have.
So it's just action-packed.
Oh,
there's no break.
No.
It's just like, bam, knockout, boom.
By the time a guy is leaving the cage, you got another one being called up, right?
Wow.
And so you try to have that because you want to let as much action as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's when people get bored, they flip the channel and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. You're just keeping it rolling. I mean, look, it reminds me of my career playing minor league baseball, right? It's like, yeah, a lot of people would prefer to watch a smaller fight that's more like rugged, and I mean, just it's a different experience in watching a minor league baseball game versus a big league game.
I think the minor league system is very overlooked. You just talked about the ticket sales.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of money and opportunity in the minor league system.
Is that what you would consider where you're at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that for us, you can have organic growth without trying to compete with anybody.
Yeah.
Right. We jumped from our last 3 fights, we jumped up 57% in viewership.
Wow.
And so when you get in those type of numbers, more and more people like you would think like hot chicks in my DM, like, no, it's fighters, right? It's like,
hey, bro, let me get on that card.
Right.
Yep.
It's like, yo, we saw the last show.
Yeah.
We're trying to get on this card. And so for me, I enjoy that the most.
Yeah.
Right. I went to it was the Knights. I went to a Knights game.
Yep.
A couple months ago, whatever it was, and a guy walked up to me, and when I was standing in line to get the ticket scan, and the guy said, "Oh, I watched that MMA league you got." He knew nothing about me playing in the NFL. He didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
He just knew me of the guy who
The
owns
MMA guy.
the MMA guy. And so
Yeah.
I was like, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, the goal is to just continue to grow that, get more fights, bigger rosters,
Yeah.
better, deals all the way around.
Yeah, and these verticals that's coming, right?
All the AI stuff and the tech
AI,
stuff.
fan engagement tech. We have gloves on the way that we're going to announce here in the next few months. And so we're going to introduce the betting side.
Yeah.
We'll have a
bets.
a betting partner soon. But I'm more about producing and collecting data so we can give the fans more to watch.
Yeah.
And figure out. And I think if we continue on that path and with the growth that we're already having right now, we'll be very big here quickly, because we're not taking the approach of trying to spend a bunch of money to be as big as UFC or be as big as anybody.
Yeah.
It's like being consistent, adding more things for the fans to watch and be involved in, more data elements of the fight game. And just fun, like you just mentioned, John Brink's show back, that sport, I used to love that sports science show.
Yeah, that was cool.
Back in the day, when guys get hit, you're like, hey, this amount of power, like,
This is this much force.
Right, this much force.
Yeah, it was crazy. What's the, I guess the second one to the US is like Bellator or something?
PFL and Bellator, which
Okay.
PFL I think is trying to buy Bellator right now. I don't know exactly
Okay.
how that is supposed to happen, but I think it's going down.
Yeah.
But what's happening is you're getting a lot of international public funds, from Saudi, from
Buying up these.
Dubai.
I mean, look, Saudi owns the PGA now.
Right.
Kind of.
They do. They do.
It's crazy.
They do. After all that, fighting,
Yeah.
kicking, and screaming, they do.
Yeah, they got control. It's funny, dude. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, just across all the sports, the NBA, Jordan, the MLB, it's just crazy, all these sales. Oakland's moving here,
Right.
the A's are moving here. You got the NFL, I think the Redskins or the Commanders, whatever they're called now,
Right.
just sold for like $6 billion.
$6.5 billion, yeah.
It's crazy. And then, UFC, Live Golf, freaking pickleball. There's so much money in sports right now. It's crazy.
It is, and it's a fun time too, because the more doors open up as far as tech and the opportunity to look at certain tech products and AI and all this crazy stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Watch how fast the live sports business grow. Like
Yeah.
we haven't even scratched the surface on.
That's why these guys are paying so much.
Yeah, and even for us, we're still relatively small, right? And I'll post something one day, or I'm on LinkedIn or whatever, and I'll have like a company reach out. I'm like, hey, we're this is what we're thinking about doing. Can we talk, to figure something out? And if it's a good partnership or something that we can add on to the fight, then I'm like, yeah, let's.
Yeah, if it
let's figure
increases
out.
the experience,
Yeah.
it's great. No, that's cool. So, yeah, I think super exciting on the live sports side. That's amazing. I guess on the football side, let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, you were the rookie of the year,
Yeah.
and first round pick, and had a long career, which is very difficult to do in the NFL. Like, what do you think contributed to your success? I know you started fighting, and
Yeah.
like that made you better, but what do you think?
I think I had a different mentality and mindset.
Yeah.
That I approached with the game, because when you get up to the NFL, everybody's good.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny, you go to the barbershop or you somewhere and they're like, oh, that dude sucked, right? The guy that's on the bench, or he's not.
Yeah.
I'm like, trust me, that guy's the most athletic person you've ever seen before in your life.
Yeah.
But the guy in front of him is
just
even better.
Yep.
And so, I just approached the game with a different mentality, right? Even when I was out there tackling or playing the way I played, I never envisioned a tackle. I wanted to run through people.
Yeah.
That was my mentality was a little bit different. My pain threshold, and when I'm tired, and so I was always able to take it another level. And ultimately, when you're blessed with the physical side of it, being athletic and stuff, because you got to have some of that.
Yep.
But the other side of it is what are you willing to do that everybody is not?
Yeah.
And once you can take your mind there, you become extremely the separation at that point is when you start having the guys that just playing in the NFL. We're still good, don't get me wrong, very athletic, explosive, just freakish athletes. But then you start talking about your Pro Bowlers, then your All Pros, then your defensive rookie and the offensive rookie of the year, and your players of the year, right?
Yeah.
So it started to separate yourself from all these guys who are already freak athletes anyway. Just your mentality and your ability to prepare, and then your mentality and approach to the game.
Do you think that the freakish athlete guys who maybe never fulfilled their potential, do you think it's a work ethic issue? Do you think it's they're having a little too much fun? Do you think it's, like you said, it's just mindset? They just don't believe in themselves? Like, what do you think?
A lot of it. Believe it or not, you have some of the greatest athletes in the world to get in their own head.
Yeah.
Right.
Head cases.
Yeah. It's like, to get in their own way, to get in their own head. You always hear like the quarterback go out and make a bad play, forget that play, go to the next one.
Yeah.
And you have some guys that make a mistake, and that mistake is in their head the whole game, right? Or a coach say something that they don't like, and they're in the slumps, right? Yeah. When I was in high school, if you came out to my practices, you would have thought I was the worst player on the field. I mean, my coaches were on me, bad, and I was thankful for that, because I built up a layer of skin where I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna go out and keep working hard and keep pushing. I'm gonna just keep going. But you have some guys that you say something to, and like their attitudes just shift. Their attitudes just shift.
They can't take
criticism. They can't take it.
Yeah. What do you think about a guy like? You played with Phillip Rivers. Probably like right at you guys probably came up right at the beginning together. I mean, that dude had such a long career, great career. I mean, obviously you didn't get the Super Bowl, but it's as good of a career you could have without winning a Super Bowl.
The best.
Yeah.
And. Obviously, and so I'm always a Phillip Rivers advocate, right? Like Hall of Famer, one of the best to do it. Oh, he didn't win the ring. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of slack for that. But Phillip was one of the most competitive people I ever played with.
Yeah.
And I played with some of the greatest athletes ever on the field. And he was probably the most competitive. Because outside of him just running his mouth all the time, because he talked trash for days.
I've seen the clips.
Oh, it's unreal. It's unreal that it's not even on a football field. He'll walk by you in the locker and say something. He'll walk by you in the weight room and say, well, you'll be sitting there eating,
just talking smack.
And just talking smack. We might have a team that with a really good tackle that week, and he'll tap you on the back and say, Lights, you eat up, you got such and such this week. And I'm like, dude, stop. Leave me alone. But he was always like willing to push the limit to compete. Yeah. And so I seen that a lot out of him. But walking in the locker room with Damian Thompson, man, like Lorenzo Neal, these guys, man, like you, Antonio Gates, are invaluable to be around.
Yeah, I forgot, man. You guys were stacked back in the day.
Yeah, we were loaded.
What was it like with LT during that time? Like he won the MVP and just that dude's throwing for touchdowns.
He is to me, I looked at him like Jordan, a little bit like Michael Jordan. Like when I first saw LT, when I walked in the locker room, I had that feeling like Michael Jordan just walked in the room, because in football, like he is Jordan.
He was the guy,
and he was so crazy talented and did stuff in practice all the time that by the time we got to the game, we were like,
just give him the ball.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he just jump cut in the air, one leg, opposite direction, one hand out the backfield, no problem. Because you know what, we just seen it on Wednesday.
Yeah,
we just seen it.
Yeah.
So by that time, it was just like, oh, that's just L Ben L.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed about being around those guys is that no matter what the status, everybody worked hard, man. It was no like diva.
Yeah.
If you slacked off, you like just wasn't going hard, somebody gonna say something to you.
Yeah.
Right. You can never go by a day with if I'm saying this, or I got blocked, or I fell on the play. Lorenzo Neal's like, oh, I saw that. It was never a day that went by that we wasn't out there competing, and that ultimately was what made us the team we were.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like a culture of accountability, right?
100%.
Because you're talking about like in the sports world and even the business world, right? There are head cases and people who just can't take criticism. They can't take failure. They can't take feedback, legitimate coaching, and they just like, it's ego.
It'll kill you.
Yeah.
It'll kill you. And so, a funny story. So when I first started getting more into the business world, right, going to meetings and, sitting in, around a bunch of people that got just a whole lot more smarter than I am, right? And I used to get mad when people used to make these football analogies. It used to piss me off, like make me so mad, because I'm like, hey, look, if we're talking about, trademark infringement or IP or copyright, like I know what you're talking about. But somehow, some way, they would make this correlation between football and like what I said, dude, just talk how you talk, and I understand. But the more and more I got into it, I realized that the DNA of what they were talking about is so appropriate to the business world. Like there was a lot of things I learned playing football that I thank God now that I got a chance to experience, right? Adversity, being injured, having to play with on a team, right? Team ball, and having to like understand like everybody around you. Everybody had different personalities, and certain people you couldn't mess with the same as him. And now, and I'm sure you got, people you work with, employees or whoever, that you may be able to say something to him, but you can't say something to her, or vice versa. Yeah. Because they're going to take it a different way. Yep. And so, football has taught me a lot, because I was able to make that transition, and I started looking like, hold on, I know this. Yeah, I've done this. I led a team before. Yeah, and so that's how I look at business now. I'm leading a team of people. Yeah, right. I don't even. It's so funny to see it's, people. You got to put, I guess, an owner on it, or CEO, or whatever you want to put. But ultimately, it's just you're a leader. You're leading a team. That's really all it is. Yeah, no, 100%. Whenever I'm talking about it, I always draw so many parallels between sports and business, because they really are just like so similar. You're dealing with really talented people, doing something at a high level, and the stakes are high, and it's high pressure, and you got to learn how to deal with it. It doesn't matter whether you're hitting a baseball, you're sacking a quarterback, you're doing a big, massive deal. It's like, man, it's very similar. It's so similar. And even off of that, it was so competitive. Like that guy behind you that they just drafted or brought in. Oh yeah, it's like waiting to take your spot. Like I try to explain to people in the normal world is working a 9 to 5. I'm like, okay, you got your salary. What if they you brought a new person in and put them in that cubicle right next to you, and you knew every year there was a draft. You knew every single year that there was a draft. Like, hey, one day you might. We got a lot of picks this year. we just got 2 extra picks from the Giants, and we're gonna use one of them to replace you. Yeah, and that goes back to kind of playing on the team, because I learned how to perform every day. Yeah, and there was no day let up, because they were drafting a rookie. To pay him cheaper, pay him less, 100%. And he's younger. He's younger. Got less baggage. Less baggage, less injuries. Cool with everybody in the front office. You might have a couple of problems with people in the front office. And so every day you had to go out and perform, because that off day, that off week, they can't wait to pass your reps. To that young guy that came in. And so I live every day like that. Yeah. Now my mentality every single day I wake up is somebody want my job. Bro, I love that you say that, because people don't talk about this, but it's like, bro, when I was playing, it was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be in the lineup today or not, right? Like I go every day to the field like, man, I hope I'm in the lineup, because if I'm not, like, it could be my last day. It could be whatever, right? If I'm not performing, I'm out. At any point, there's always somebody ready to take your job. And like, they're there. You know who they are, right? Like, unlike maybe a business where it's like, bro, if you don't perform, we're going to go get somebody. And then, you don't know who it is. They're not just waiting there to take your job, right? But I always say this. I'm like, look, the business, people want to say like business is family. And it's not, because like a family, you are stuck with your family. Right. Your dad is your dad. Your mom is your mom. Your siblings are who they are. You can never change that. Doesn't mean you got to work with them, but you can't change it. In sports, you have a team, and it's like a team is kind of like a family, except that people can be traded, they can be released, you can sign new members. Yep. And that's how we treat business. Like, yo, we love you, we support each other, we're all working together towards the same thing. But if you're not holding up your end of the bargain, we got to get you out of here. That's it. Somebody else has got to come in and do it. It's yeah, I mean, look, I was watching a draft one time. I think it was my 4th or 5th year, and I was watching a draft, just NFL draft, just like everybody else. And I'm laying down, and I'm like, I got a bag of chips next to me. I'm just watching the draft, hanging out, and the Chargers were up for a pick. Yeah. And right before they picked the guy, like Boomer, he's in his ear, and said, "Well, I think the Chargers are about to trade Shawn Merriman." I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Nobody called me. Nobody said nothing. So I got up and I spilled that damn bag of chips. I I said, what? And I texted my agent, like, hey, what's going on? You know, and of course, I didn't get traded, but it woke something up. And mind you, every day I'm like, it could be the last day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even as a first round draft pick, you got a lot of opportunities because you're a top pick and all this other stuff. But every day could be your last day because somebody could be coming and taking your job.
Yep.
And they could be sending you somewhere else.
Yep.
And my mentality now, that's how I, to be honest, I wish every business was performance based.
Yeah.
And if you pay,
that's sports are.
yeah, it's performance based. If you play well, you do well. You're doing more than everybody else. I think you should get compensated for it.
And if your team doesn't want to, somebody else will.
Yep.
Free market.
Yep.
And I agree. And that's how we run the business. And like, it seems like it's cutthroat, but that's business, and it's like, this isn't like, these unions where it's like, oh, my wife was a teacher and it's like, you could be a terrible teacher and they cannot fire you.
Yep.
It's just, you do it as if you have tenure. And by the way, the only way to get a raise has nothing to do with your performance. It's just how many years you put in. That's it. That's like a terrible way to run anything.
Yeah, because when it's ran that way, I think that what do you have to gain or lose?
Yeah,
right?
There's no incentive to work.
There's no incentive to put any extra time in. There's no incentive to do anything more.
Yep.
And I had some really good teachers that spent time or whatever, but I had some teachers that as soon as that 3 o'clock hit, they were out.
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't ask them about.
And they got paid the same.
That's it. It didn't matter. And so I've always had this opinion that everything should be performance based.
Yeah.
And because my whole life has been a performance situation, that now I have to, every day I wake up, I got to perform.
Yeah.
I got to perform. I got to put up numbers.
Yeah.
I got to save money. We got to cut back on this. We got to maneuver around this. You got to perform every single day. And that's just my mentality.
100%. So I was actually listening to something from Dave Ramsey, and I'm not like I tell you what, I don't agree with like a lot of Dave's philosophies, but I am a Dave Ramsey fan now with just like the business he's built, the people he's been able to impact, and I respect everything he's built. But one thing he said was, over the years he's been in business, 30, 40 plus years, and he's had tons of failures, tons of adversity, and he basically said he's like he's still at 60 something years old making content, like working. He's like, it never stops. You always have to perform and work. He's like, we've had plenty of failures, but at the end of the day, we're just like trying to fight to see another day. We're trying to make sure we get past the bad days and just keep rolling. And like and I think he used the analogy of like, what you see today is me standing on top of all of the failure. Instead of being underneath it, like most people, they get crumbled by the failure. He's like, I just happen to be on top of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's a good analogy.
It is perfect because, at the end of the day, when your mentality, you're gonna have a bunch of failure. I mean, in this business, especially in a MMA business, live sports business, you got failures all the time, right? You got, hey, this didn't go here, this camera here, or too many delays between the commercial. Like you always look for ways to try to get better at what you're doing, and people never see that.
Yeah,
they don't see those things. Yep. But when you're standing at the top of that mountain, that's when it's like, oh yeah, he did this, and I'll say, yeah, you didn't see,
you didn't see everything.
You didn't see everything, because if you saw everything, you have a different appreciation of it. Yeah. And then too, how I am just in general, I love the progress. Yeah. The process. I love the process. Yep. And I'm so afraid in a way to get to a point where you talk about being bought out and all this. That doesn't cross my mind.
It happens. It happens.
If it happens, it happens. I enjoy the grind. I enjoy being in the gym every day at 5:30, 6 in the morning. Yep. I enjoy the process of everything, and I do have a fear of getting to that point where it's like, okay, what now, right? Yeah. And of course, you'll find something else to do and all this other stuff, but just when your head's down and you're grinding and you're enjoying the process, you're just in love with making those small wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, it's the journey. People talk about that a lot, but it's true. So, you made a lot of money in your football career. What did you do with it?
Well, I blew some of it too, but not blowing like on stupid things. But I took care of a lot of, because where we came from, we were homeless.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people helped me get to where I was, and I was taking care of family and taking care of stuff. But it got to a point where I cut all that off. It wasn't like I did it my whole life. Obviously learning through business, getting into a bad business deal or two, and trying to figure things out, finding out who the right, partners and money managers are and the companies you work with. So I had to learn a lot of this stuff on my own. I was really self-taught because there was nobody else around that was telling me these things.
Yeah.
But I learned very quickly. And what I started to do is I started to get around, because I was fortunate enough, I played in the NFL, people knew who I was. So I was kind of letting some of these doors that other people couldn't get into.
Yeah.
And so I found some really, really smart people who've been in the industry for a while. So whenever I wanted to go start a business or start doing something, I can call one of the best in the business to pick up the phone and say, hey, what did you do when this happened? And that to me became invaluable. And so what I started to do is I invested in myself.
Yeah.
I have no investors. I have none. I have not one investor.
Wow.
And so when people come to our fights or they see it on TV and everything, they think I've raised tens of millions of dollars because of how we look.
Yeah.
And I've just been more efficient than everyone else. My mindset is to create more rev share opportunities, more revenue verticals, more partnerships, more content distribution deals, and just really organically grow without having to raise a bunch of capital. And there's nothing wrong with raising capital. And there will be a day that I might have to.
Yeah.
But for me, I just took all my money, I invested in everything I got, everything I got going on. And then one day I'll kind of sit back and look at it a little bit different when I have partners and other people on board. But to your question, I invested in myself, everything.
Wow. So you didn't let financial advisors and all that stuff just tell you to do, because like what I see with a lot of these athletes is they obviously don't know business or investing or anything. And so they just give it to a financial advisor and he just kind of basically says, let's play it safe and not do anything, really.
No, that's what it is. And a lot of them do that.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of athletes are smartening up now because the information is out there.
Yeah.
So, somebody sitting around making 1% of your money, like, hey, look what we're doing, 3%. Well, look I'm doing such a great job, right? But what they're doing is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And they're doing enough not to lose you any money, but they're not putting you in a great position either.
Yeah, they don't want to risk anything. You
Right.
know, it's like I've had a lot of conversations with guys. I'm like, yeah, I mean, our real estate's going to do this and you're getting this right now. And it's like, yeah, but my financial advisor won't let me do it. And I'm like, all right, whatever. if you don't have control of your own money, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and by the way, I would say that some guys need it.
Oh, for sure.
Some guys need it. Like, trust me, when I was coming up, I used to get them calls all the time. Invest this $25,000 in a barbershop. Right?
Yeah.
Your boy's got a thing that you invest $100,000 that you're gonna make $10 million back.
It's a good way for you not have to say no.
Right.
It's like, hey, it's not me. It's him.
100%. Because I definitely pulled that card too before. and don't get me wrong, I was really, really good at saying no.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'll get in that situation where you want to do something, you want to help somebody out.
Yeah.
And I start separating the two and helping somebody out and doing business with them.
Right.
If I loan somebody $5,000 or $10,000, or I'm trying to help them out or start up, do whatever, $20,000, whatever the number was, I did it without expecting anything back.
Right.
So I'm not going in business with them. I'm helping you out. And if you decide to pay me back, cool.
You're right. We're not partners.
We're not partners. No.
Yeah. No, that's the right way to handle it for sure. The moment you start like thinking that's a great investment to go help your dude's barbershop, it's probably not. It's probably not going to work out great. So, okay, you retire and you already had a gig lined up. You're doing TV. How was that?
It was cool but uncomfortable.
Why?
So I was in TV. I was during the off season. I was doing a lot of TV broadcasting. I was on sitcoms, the mini shows, on Entourage. I was doing a lot of TV during the off season, so I was good with that. As an analyst, when I got in the broadcasting booth, I wasn't comfortable initially because the analyst, you gotta being a player in the locker room, you're like not throwing one of your boys under the bus, right? A guy messed up a play, he's in the wrong position. Like you're not saying, hey, it was him. He was out of position.
Yeah.
Well, as an analyst, you got to.
Yeah.
because that's what people want to hear.
Yeah.
They want to hear, hey, where was this guy supposed to be on cover 3? Who has that man under?
Yeah.
And so I remember a time where it was one of my close friends we were talking about. I was at NFL Network, and we was breaking down the play, and I just could not bring myself to say, hey,
he screwed up.
He screwed up, right?
Yeah.
And then the other host, one of the guys were a former athlete too, so he knew exactly who messed up. He knew I knew who messed up. And they're looking at me like, didn't you see the? I was like, yeah, but so I felt uncomfortable. But the more and more I got comfortable with doing that, it opened up the broadcasting world, because a lot of people don't know how hard being a broadcaster is.
Yeah.
Because you got somebody, you're a producer.
Yeah.
Right. You got a teleprompter, and then you got your topic that you guys talking about, and you only got about a minute and a half,
right,
if that, to give a very, very clean, crisp point where the audience understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you got to do that in a minute and a half, and you got producers talking to you like, hey, such and such is next. We got this amount of time. Then we go to the B block, and so you got all this stuff happening while you're still giving your point.
Yeah.
And so I've seen guys when they retire just jump in a booth, and they're like, they're like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do.
I think that's why they love Tony Romo, because he was just like calling out everything.
Oh yeah,
he just crushed it. How do you think Brady's gonna do?
I think because he has so much knowledge of the game, and the reason why Tony Romo is great, because he call out those plays.
Yeah.
He'll start. Tony Romo, what makes him great, he'll start looking at plays in formation and start calling out a possible 2 or 3 plays, and there's always one of them.
Yeah,
he's wrong once in a while, but if he starts saying, "Hey, it's going to be this bubble here or this pass underneath," it's normally one of the 2.
Yeah,
and so I think it'd be interesting to hear Tom's, with all that experience and his time just in the game.
Yeah.
People want to hear. I mean, it's Tom Brady for one. Right?
You're going to get to see how he thinks.
You're going to see, and then sometimes you're going to see how crazy, wicked, smart, how much film these guys. Like, you got to think, when my playing days, I was watching about a good 3 or 4 hours of film a day.
Wow.
Right? So you're talking about, 20 hours of film a week.
Yeah.
Somebody like Tom Brady at that quarterback position, I wouldn't doubt if he was watching 40 hours of film a week. Over a 20, however long you played, 20 years, however long it was.
Yeah.
20 plus. Over that long period.
That's a lot.
You know how much he knows about the game?
He's watched more than anyone.
Oh, it's going to be sick. So I watch that because I want to hear how he looks at and interprets certain things from his point of view.
Yeah. Who was the guy you were most scared of preparing for? You're like, dude, this dude's going to be a problem, man.
I wouldn't necessarily say scared, but you always, when you play the Patriots, like,
yeah,
it's just like, even the times we were a better team than them.
Yeah.
Like just our roster, like everything about us, right? Better players.
Yeah.
And they just like find ways to win. And you're like, man, just don't give Tom the ball with 2 minutes left, please. Let's not do that today, because we know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Why was he so good? Like, as far as physically, he's not anything crazy.
Right.
He's not the fast. He's slow. His arm strength is good, but not crazy. Like, why was he so good?
Outside of him being very competitive,
yeah,
'cause I think that was his edge. He was like unreal competitive. He was such a great competitor. He was probably the best decision maker to ever play the game. His decision making skills, so like, he's not forcing the ball in. If this guy's not open, this check down's here. He's not going to take an unwarranted sack. He's not going to throw a ball into double coverage with all his decision making skills, along with his competitiveness, took him to another level, and his knowledge of the game.
Yeah.
I would love to actually see him and Bill Belichick just sit in a room and talk football, because I want to see what the hell's said. You know?
Yeah. Well, I grew up a Packers fan, so I love Aaron Rodgers, and now he's gone. So it'd be interesting to see how he adjusts. But I'm like, I look at a guy like Rodgers, and he's got 1 Super Bowl. Or no, does he have 2? I think 1. And but he's got all these MVPs. He's like statistically better than everyone. And you watch him make throws, and you're like, dude, this guy's freaking, like, he makes throws no one else can make. It's crazy. And he's got a rocket. And he just can't win the big games the way Brady does. Regular season, they always win. And I'm just like, what was the difference? Why did a guy who's like more talent on paper not come close to what Brady did?
Well, again, when you go out and you're a gunslinger, right? You're throwing the ball down the field. And then guess who was a quarterback before Aaron Rodgers? Favre.
Yeah.
So you got two back-to-back gunslingers
yeah.
who can just go out there and create plays with their legs. And I mean, I watched sometime when Aaron Rodgers roll out and he's creating plays and doing certain things. Like Brady's never going to create a play.
Right.
He's just not. And if something's not there, best believe that ball is gone.
Yeah.
He'll throw a spike it in the ground. He'll throw it out. He'll take a quick sack. He'll do something to not put his team in a bad position. The
gunslinger's just going all in.
They're going all in, and it's like the gift and the curse of you having a cannon.
Right? Yeah,
it's like you ever go into the gym and like just see how strong you are today.
Yeah.
You know you're strong. Like you're testing it out because you got it.
Yeah,
and then sometimes that gunslinger mentality will come back and bite you.
I guess you're not forced to be disciplined.
Yeah.
Because Brady didn't have a choice. That was only one way he could succeed.
Right.
Just being very good at decision. No, that makes sense. And that's why it's like interesting watching a guy like Mahomes, because he's like very similar to Rodgers, but yet he's figuring out a way to get it done quick.
Oh yeah. And he's another one. So you have that hybrid of guys who can sling it, who can just chuck it downfield. Ultra talented. And this guy I seen the other day, he was throwing like behind the back pass 25 yards down the field. I'm like, what? I'm like, have I been gone out the game that long that guys just throwing
just do that like it's nothing?
Yeah, he threw a 25-yard pass.
Throwing left-handed passes.
Back, and I'm like, what? One of the plays you said you had Von Miller on before, and this is when I really started to pay attention to Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he's a great quarterback, but Von was chasing him when he was in Denver. He was chasing him one play from behind on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes switched and threw the ball with his left hand.
Yeah.
Now, me being a pass rusher, I'm thinking in my head, this is a guaranteed sack. You got a guy rolling out to the left.
Yeah.
He can't turn his body enough to twerk and throw with his right arm. This is a guaranteed sack. If I was to hit him and I got up and thinking and I saw the ball gone, oh, I'm pissed. I'm pissed because for anybody else, any one of the other 31 quarterbacks in the National Football League, that's a sack.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And when he didn't get him on that play, I said, okay, you know what? This dude is different.
Yeah. Just throwing left-handed passes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Oh, man. Yeah, it's fun watching these guys, man. But tell me a little bit about the insurance industry, man.
Yeah.
Because you did the broadcast thing. You had the MMA thing going, and then you kind of fell into insurance.
Yeah. And so, one of the main reasons why I got into insurance was during the pandemic, but also, too, because of the pandemic and COVID, everything that happened, insurance, in my opinion, became like a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Like at first, it's like, hey, you got insurance, cool. If not, and I think that the possibilities of seeing people get sick and be gone, these GoFundMe pages up and families left in shambles. And so I started to look around and said, man, you're helping people out because people need insurance, one. But two, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money and opportunity in insurance because everybody need it. Yeah. Everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to, build a team of 247 agents throughout the country because we built a system to have one-on-one training, leads, in-house leads. I mean, all this stuff that wasn't available in the insurance industry.
Right.
And so I came in with a different mentality. We have agents selling policies their first day out with us.
Yeah.
Helping them get trained with scripts and the whole nine. Like I built again, we talk about team.
Yep.
Right. Because as busy as I am and as much as I've gone on, like I know that I can't be physically involved in everything.
Right.
So what I try to do is have the infrastructure to build up certain teams. So we have one-on-one coaches, onboarding people to help you, out with scripts, help you to with your leads and things like that, to call and dial.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, when I find it out now that there really is more people in this country that need insurance than there are agents selling insurance.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people just don't even know their different options. They don't know, like, really how bad they could leave, their family, what kind of problems they could have. They don't even know, like, the different tax vehicles you can use with insurance. There's so many. Insurance is such a crazy industry. There's just so many freaking ways you could do it.
Oh, my God. There's, and even now, I'm still learning, right? I mean, I've been in it for a little over 4 years now.
Yeah.
And when I first started the Lights Out Insurance Agency, people can check us out, lightsoutagency.com. when I first started that, I didn't know much about insurance. I had my Lloyd's of London policy. I had personal insurance of myself. But I'm like, okay, what my agent or my financial guy, I'm like, okay, I need insurance. I'll get it, right?
Yeah.
So we got a policy or whatnot. And when I played, I had the Lloyd's of London insurance in case of injury or hurt.
How much did that cost, by the way?
I got a $5 million policy for my Lloyd's of London, I think I had.
Yeah.
So basically what happened is that if anything got hurt or anything like that, I would get to 5 to 7. I think it was 5 or 7.
You can get it when you're in college too.
Yeah. And so basically what happens is it was kind of cool, and people didn't know this, is that if you got hurt or something like that and you were supposed to make a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're supposed to make $10 million a year or $7 million a year, so whatever that gap was in that insurance policy, you can get paid on it. You know, if you were a first round guy, you had a $10 million signing bonus, but so you can get up to that amount. So I had insurance for myself, but I didn't know much about the other vehicles of insurance.
Yeah.
And so what's cool with us and the way we've grown, we're seeing life changing results, man. Like, I had an agent who was working at Verizon, and he was working at Verizon half the time, and he was working insurance.
Right.
And I think the most he made at Verizon in 1 month was like 6,000, something like that, or whatever the number was.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, you know how much you made this month working, 10 hours a week in insurance, right? I said, pretty much close to it. And so he came over, and what was cool to me is, even this morning this happened, he was sending me pictures of him and his wife going to look at plots of land to buy a house.
There we go.
And so when he started, he was in debt.
Wow. And
so for that, that is cool for me to see, because we're seeing this happen over and over again. And in fact, I have NFL players that's on NFL rosters right now
that are trying to do insurance.
That are doing insurance.
Why?
Because they and some of these guys are on the fence, right? They're not your first round guys and whatever.
They got to work in the offseason.
They got to work,
different things.
So you got some of these guys that are creating a different avenue, because I had a long career but a short career, if that makes any sense, right? Like I had a big knee injury and I blew my Achilles out. And some of these guys didn't go first round.
Yeah.
Right. So if an injury happened to them, they're saying, you know what, I don't want to make this mistake by having something that I can't fall back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we have about 8 guys from the USFL. Yeah. About 6 or 7 guys from the XFL. Yeah. And about 8 or 9 NFL athletes just on NFL rosters right now.
Got it.
That are all in my agency that I get a chance to work with.
That's awesome. Speaking of injuries, you talked about that, like long career but short career. Like, how's that going through? Like, dude, I mean, you were like the guy in defense, and it's like injuries just make your career way shorter than it should have been. Yeah. How's it dealing with that?
I used to beat myself up over it. Yeah. Like right after it happened, because I'm an ultra competitive person. Like, I want to be the best in everything I do. Yeah. I can't, even when I come and just try to do something. That's why I don't play basketball anymore.
You'll get hurt.
I'll get hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'll go up and think I can dunk like I used to dunk. Like I'll tear Achilles and do, like, I won't even go out there. Yeah. The best you might get me is go out and shoot a game of horse or something like that. But outside of that, that's it. Because I'm really, really competitive. I want to be the best at what I do.
By the way, I'm the same way. If I'm either I'm gonna do it and I want to like cut your throat, or I don't want to do it at all.
That's it.
There's no in between.
It's an athlete. It's one of these athlete things where I just can't do it any other way. Yeah. And so when my body couldn't do what it once could, I started to beat myself up over it, and I started to get, like, I wouldn't call it depressed, but like really conscious about where I was at anymore, because mentally I was still checked in. Mentally I can check in. But when I couldn't do it anymore physically, it started wearing on my mental.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, man,
am I ever going to be as good as I once was? Like,
you start to see, some of these guys going to Hall of Fame, and you're like, man, if I had 2 more healthy years, I would have got my Hall of Fame, jacket. Yep. And so for a good portion of that, I was beating myself up over it, because I was like, man, I was the best at what I did. I just didn't have a long enough career. Yep. And then I started to get my mentality switched and how I looked at it, because it made me consistently have a chip on my shoulder. Yeah. Consistent. And not even in a negative way. Just like, now I want to go hard at everything. Every single thing that I touch, everything I do, I want to just go hard at it. And I have this what I call a healthy chip. I call it a healthy chip on my shoulder, where I just always want to do. And I think a lot of that stems from that I didn't really meet reach the potential that I wanted to get to in football.
Yeah.
And so I started to look at that as a positive thing, because now I got like a constant fire in me to always want to do something great.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, right? Because it was just really a stroke of bad luck, right? It's not like you could have prevented it. You know, you're working hard, you're doing your thing, and it's just like bad luck played out.
Right.
And, you know, I see that a lot in business, right? Where it's like you get bad luck. The market turns south. There's things that are out of your control, that regulatory things, the TV cut your contract, like whatever, right? There's things that are completely out of your control. And all that matters is like, you can't dwell on them. You can't be like, oh, poor me, like, what a bad break. It's more like, okay, well, this happened. I was doing everything I could. It's not like I caused this upon myself. Now what? Where do I go from here? And then, you know, that's the mark of like what great business people, great athletes do. It's like, dude, I'm not going to dwell in my failures. Like, I'm going to just figure out how to use this to my advantage.
Oh, no, 100%. And what happens is your vision or your understanding of a bad day is different, right?
Yeah,
like, it's different. And what I mean by that is you got some people that car didn't start up that day, or they can't find their keys, they lost their wallet. It's like, oh my God, my day is, I couldn't do that. I'm like, dude, that's nothing.
No,
that's not a bad day.
No,
you know, have your, you know, something flipped upside down because the bank's closed, right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, somebody cut off your funding or cut off a partnership because of this happened.
Yep.
And so these things are life changing. You just had a bad day, and so when you've gone through that, you start looking at everything else like you're not, you know, and also too, that has a little bit of my upbringing and me going through what I went through growing up, you know, as being homeless and stuff like that. And I tell people all the time, like, you're not having you're having a bad time, you know, but you're not having a bad day. Your life isn't terrible, and all, like, stop with the negative, you know, negative thing.
What was it like growing up homeless? Like, how long did that last for?
We lost our home to fires, actually. It happened twice.
Wow.
Twice. And so when I was a kid, there was my babysitter at the time, when I was 11 years old, she had witnessed a murder in our neighborhood.
Wow.
And the guys who actually murdered someone else, they threw one of them cocktail bombs in the window.
Got it.
And so our apartment building burned down.
Wow.
You know, so we lived in a building as well. Burned down, and so we went to stay in like Motel 8. Do they got Motel 8s anymore?
I don't know if that. I've stayed at them many times when I was playing minor league baseball.
Yeah, so Motel 8s, they had the Ramadas back in the day, like really, really low budget, like motels at the time. And so we were living there for a while. We lived in the shelter. We lived back in the car with my mom and my sister.
Wow.
And so my vision of bad days and bad times are completely different than everyone else. So, like, I have a different perspective when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And I try to tell people all the time, you got to separate like that bad moment.
What do you do when, like, I struggle with this, right? You just see people who are like that, right? And in me, like, I try to have compassion, but then, like, in my mind, I'm just like, you're just so soft. Like, I don't know what to do. Like I just can't even deal with what you're telling me right now.
You know, it's crazy about that word soft, right? Because I try not to sound like the old guy. Like, even when you talk about it, like, these guys are soft. Back in the day, we used to play the leather helmets, and like you don't want to be that guy. But yeah, like you know, sometimes you have to tell people to toughen up. Yeah, you know, toughen up, because if you think this is bad, then you're not even prepared.
No,
you're not even prepared for what's coming.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can handle this and get through those smaller storms, you know how to deal with them, navigate through them, get past them. Yeah, it kind of builds up this level of skin, this layer of skin that you didn't have. Yeah, that most people don't have. And that, like I said before, I started looking at the injuries, career cut short. Yep, all these things. You know, me growing up, some of the stuff, a lot of things I went through. Yep, to just this level, this layer of skin that 95% of the world don't have. No, they don't. I've told the story a little bit, but, like, you know, the Oakland A's released me when I was 23 years old, and I'm like, man, you're 23, you worked your whole life to do this, and they're just like, yo, you're not good enough. And you're like, dude, I've been the best, like, my whole life. Right. Everybody's told me I'm the best, and now you're telling me I'm, like, done. And you just, like, deal with that mentally at 23. And you're like, holy crap, like, what am I? Right. You have an identity crisis, whatever, right? And then you realize you have a choice. You can just let it tear you down,
or you can rise above it and use it however you want to use it, right? And so like that was my first like real big thing of like, wow, okay, nothing is guaranteed, plans change, all this happens, right? And then, you get into business and you have your first losing deal. You lose a bunch of money and you're like, dang, dude, like this is a sting to the ego, the wallet. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I expected to make all this money. Now I'm going to lose all this money, and I remember like my first like $1 million problem, of like, how the heck am I going to solve this? I don't have it. Right. And I got through it and it taught me a lot. I developed like another layer.
Yep.
Then I had my, a $10 million problem. And it's like, dude, I don't know how we're going to get through this, what we're going to do, but you figure it out. You do it. And then you get another layer. And it's like one thing that kept my perspective going through just all these different problems was that I looked at, okay, if I want to accomplish big things in business or sports or whatever the case is, right? The stakes just become higher. And so if you can't deal with being cut at 23, how are you going to deal with trying to get to the Hall of Fame? Right. There's going to be way more problems to get to the Hall of Fame. Yep. If I can't solve $1 million problem, how am I going to, be worth 10 million or 100 million or $1 billion? Like you got to solve way more problems. And I start looking at guys like Elon Musk and I'm like, Elon Musk has a $44 billion problem buying Twitter, Threads launches, he cuts all his staff, it's not profitable yet. And yet, this guy's the richest man in the world. He don't need these problems.
Yeah.
And yet he takes on these problems and I'm like, okay, my problems aren't that bad, and I don't see Elon stressing about his $40 billion problem. He's just like, whatever, dude. Like, I'm trying to go to Mars. This ain't even a problem.
Right. It's kind of crazy you say that because Elon has a book. And so, I'm a big fan I love audiobooks. When I go take long drives and do it, I listen to audiobooks all the time, probably like 5 or 6 audiobooks a month I'll hit. Mm-hmm. And in his book, he was talking about like when Tesla was going to fail.
Yeah,
right?
he bet it all.
He bet it all. He bet all of it. And so when you ask me about the investors, what I do with money, I'm like, I'm betting it all. I'm rolling, rolling dice on what I believe is going to work, and it has been working. But I have to execute, everything that the vision that I got to carry out. But I listen to those audiobooks and I read these books because I like to hear what other people dealt with.
Yeah.
Because when you're going through it, you think it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
Like that $1 million problem you have, like once you got through it, if you have another $1 million problem now, you're like, oh, okay, cool, I'm fine.
Yep.
I'm good because this is what I'm going to do because I've already been through this, right?
Yep.
And so you move on to your $10 million problem.
Yep.
And so you figure out your $10 million problem. Once that happens, you get through it. You think it's the end of the world when that happens.
Yep.
And then you got your $50 million problem. So it always goes up. And I listen to these books, these audio books. Phil Knight with The Shoe Dog is another one.
Love that book.
That I love. I mean, I probably read that once or twice a year.
Did you watch that Jordan movie?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, dude, it's good.
Yeah.
But it just talked about that. Like the movie just portrayed how Nike was like just failing, and they bet it all on Jordan.
Yeah.
And just did a deal that had never been done, and the rest is history.
And it'd be like that, you know, sometime. And yeah, I've been in situations like that now, running a promotion. Like, you know, we've had times we could have shut down.
Yeah.
Because certain things weren't going right.
This event better work.
Yeah. You know, ticket sales didn't go how we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't have the right fights, the right fighters and stuff like that. But then as bad as everything looked, I'll go back and our viewership jumped again. And I'm like, okay, all right. We got something to work off of. And so I stay listening to these books because it keeps me sane, right? At the time when you don't know, you feel like your world is crashing, everything, you're underwater, you can't figure it out, you can't figure out what you're doing wrong. You think that you're the only one that's dealing with that problem.
Right.
Like, why is it me, right? Why am I going through this? And so do you hear that, you know, Converse tried to step on Nike at one point in the world, right? When you hear that Elon Musk he was going out of business. I mean, Tesla was done.
Yeah.
You know, he wrote his own money into it. And even after that, it wasn't doing so well. The SpaceX, he had so many problems with, I mean, it's just, so I listen to these things because it helps me navigate any issues that I may be having.
Yeah. I saw he's about to release the Cybertruck. He's been talking about it for like four years.
4 years, yeah.
He's like, it's coming out next year. It's just like, you know, it's a problem. But guess what? He don't care. It's like, yeah. But when it happens, it's going to crush.
Right.
You know? And maybe it doesn't even crush, you know? Maybe people don't like it. And then whatever. It's just another stack towards whatever his end goal is.
Yeah.
What do you think your goal is with the insurance company?
For one, I want to definitely bring on more agents. We want more and more agents.
How are you recruiting agents right now?
Through social media. We have different streams of recruiting and stuff going on, but more importantly, it's when you have other I do Zooms every day.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, every day. We have a team of 5 or 10
Zooms with
people
the agents.
With the agents.
Oh, okay.
And some of these guys say, hey, they're seeing their friends or their family bring in such and such amount of money a month. And they're like, okay, I'm looking at the insurance industry. I got, they'll say, Shawn, I got a group of, 5 or 10 people. Can we do a Zoom?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll fly out if it's 20 plus people, a nice
it's
group.
A big one, yep.
It's a bigger one. I'll fly out and meet everybody.
Yep.
And so I'm very hands-on when it comes to the insurance side because I see the growth in it and what it's doing for people.
Yeah.
And so I'm a results kind of person. So if I don't see results at some point in time, I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Right. It's not worth my time.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing such a result in not only the growth and life changing and stuff like that, but the doors opening for the possibilities of the insurance. And like I said, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
It's something to come up where it's long-term care. It's that, so it just never really stops of the opportunity. My goal, I want thousands of agents to work with, man. I want to get in a position to help and work with thousands of agents. And there's some other good agencies out there too. There really is.
So are you, at this point, it sounds like you're just very focused on MMA and the insurance company.
And working out.
And just staying jacked.
That's it. That's it. Honestly, if I don't have any hobbies.
Yeah.
I would.
Working out's a hobby.
That's what I would consider working out. I'll go, I'll go pop over to Extreme Couture like 3 days a week.
Okay.
I'll have my coach over there. I'll do, if I'm not doing light sparring, I'm hitting the mitts and.
Fighting seems to have gotten way more popular as a hobby. It's like so many people are doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu and all this stuff.
I try to tell people, you don't actually have to take a real fight. Yeah. But you going into a good class or you hitting the mitts and you're kicking, you're punching, you're doing, burpees and you walk out of there feeling like a different person. Like you walk, you're something about that is much different than going to lift weights. Yeah. It's much different than going outside, going for a long run. Yeah. It's this thing that wakes up your body to I just accomplished something. You feel like a badass a little bit. Hey, I can, I can tear a few people up. So I try to actually push people no matter what you do. If you do hot yoga or whatever, go do something in a combat sports space because it does something to you that none of my other workouts can get out of me.
Yeah. One of my employees is a pro MMA fighter. So he trains a lot of people, and so he trained me for a couple of months. I didn't do any fights or anything, but just working on my technique and all that, and it's fun. It's not I wouldn't say it's for me because I'm just dude, I'll tell you, my knuckles were hurting, man. Right. Punching just everything. We were just punching bare hands, and I was like, dude, freaking. He's like, gotta learn, and just it was different. I prefer to golf. I'm just I'm kind of soft. I'm just dude, you know what? Golfing's a better sport for me. Yeah.
I'll try. I'll go out and I'll play a 9 or something like that if I ever do. Yeah. But I'm the action junkie, right? I want action.
But I like that you're super focused on just a couple of things, right? Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs and guys I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna do this, and you're I'm just doing these.
That's my biggest pet peeve with anybody. Yeah. And it's a constant battle because of the way we're growing in the MMA space and all these opportunities that come, right? And so I have these AI companies or crypto or metaverse, XR, VR, every day there's something. And to me, I'm guys, this is great. We'll get there. Yeah. Right. But the fights and production, the consistency of
the stuff that exists today.
The stuff that exists today, we got to be masterful in that in order for me to move on to this and be great at this. And so I think that I was fortunate because my mind actually operates that way, is that I'm going to have these 2 or 3 things and I don't want to talk about nothing else. Yeah. Right? I'll hear you, but I'm not listening. Yeah. Right? So I'll say, look, and it may be a great idea. Yeah. Right. Maybe a really good idea, but when I'm focused and locked in on these things, I can and will not do nothing else until this is done. Yeah. And let me tell you, it pisses a lot of people off. it frustrates people because I think that they look at it as I'm not interested. Yeah. Or what they're bringing to the table is not good. And I said, no, what you got is great, but I have to do this in order to get here. So I'll kick the tires down the road.
Yeah, like I like what you're saying, but the timing's not right.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm the same way. It's like, bro, that's a great idea, but I'm working on like all this right now and I just can't do it.
Right.
But what do you think? I mean, you said you might sell the MMA as a tech company, right? Like, and you're talking about all these experiences that are going to happen and drones. And I mean, like, what is the vision? Like, where is all this going?
I want, us to be, first of all, because we're small enough to maneuver, right? We can try new
test
things.
new things.
We can test new things. And that part, like the UFC is big as they are, great as they are, they can't.
Right.
They got such
too much on the line.
It's too much on the line. They're too big globally, and to start implementing these other smaller things, it might piss off some of their fans.
Yeah.
We can be real cool with that.
Yeah.
Right. And somebody gonna say, hey, the UFC fight's on. We'll watch that. Like I was just at the Brandon Moreno fight. I was there. And I go to the UFC fights. But I want to be able to add these things in to amplify what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And make us really cool, make us, global in that standpoint, because I think ultimately at the end of the day, we're going to be, a media tech company that has fights.
And do you think maybe you'll run this kind of tech for other leagues? Would that be the vision?
Yeah. So we want to try it out. I mean, and maybe one day the UFC might adopt what we're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And so not that I'm looking at it that way, but if it works for us and they like what we're doing or somebody else like what we're doing, I'm not opposed to working with anybody. Like there's a lot of like competition and like stupid competition in the MMA space because you got these promotions out here. Like I'm not worried about what anybody's doing other than growing what we're doing internally.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we got some stuff coming, man, that is going to turn people's heads. Like, man, how are you guys able to?
You should
do that.
Make them sign contracts to go exclusive with you.
Everybody is.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Everybody that I work with is, because one thing that I've been fortunate to do is kind of stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And there's been some multi-billion-dollar companies that's taken some ideas that I've done.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type to get pissed off or mad at it. I look at it like, oh, okay, I'm on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are worth $5 or $10 billion, and you're taking my idea. And so that's happened.
What's an example of that?
Well, I was in a long lawsuit actually with Nike for about 2.5 years on a trademark infringement case.
Wow.
And see, these are ideas and stuff that I came up with. With apparel and stuff like it's resolved. We're good. But there's other things, tech things and creative ideas, shows I've built for networks, and they've taken it and kind of made it into their own thing. But what that does for me is I just know I'm on the right track, because it takes $10 billion company to do what I can do creatively.
Well, and I think the word that you're using that's super important is creativity. It's like, in this world of content, in this world of like innovation and tech, it's all about creativity. Yep. It's like whoever's the most creative that can think unlike everyone else, like they're the innovators, they're the people that others want to follow, they're on the cutting edge, and like that's what gets the attention, that's what gets the money. No doubt. And to me, I'm big on relationship and partnerships. Because I've realized that me being in this space, I'm the underdog. You got the UFC there, PFL. These guys got tons of money, right? Tons of it. And so I'm able to create lanes and spaces that a lot of these guys can't get to. Yeah. Also, and so I realized that, so I can be a little bit more risky. Yep. I could be a little bit more risky in what we're doing, because if it works, it's going to take us through. It'll be a big, massive splash. Yeah. And if it don't work, it's like, okay, cool, it ain't work. It's out. Whatever. If UFC tried it and it don't work, it's like, what are you guys doing? You're messing up the product. Yeah. Right? You're messing up the viewership and everything else. Yeah. They just have so much to lose that it's not worth taking those risks. Whereas it's like, that one fight didn't work doing this, whatever. Yeah. We'll try a different thing this next fight. No big deal. Oh, yeah. So, no, I love it, dude. Well, bro, it's exciting what you're doing, man. I love meeting, obviously just athletes that are, crushing it in business and taking the same principles. And, man, it's exciting with all the innovation and everything you got going on, man. So, appreciate you coming out here on the show. I'm going to have to watch the next fight and see what you guys are doing. Yeah, no, same here, man. Thanks for bringing me on. What's the website to go look at the MMA? Lightsoutxf.com. lightsoutxf.com. We'll link to that down below. Well, bro, I appreciate you guys. Go and give Shawne a follow. Go check out the MMA. Go check out the insurance for all you insurance guys. And make sure you're subscribed to the show. We'll see you on the next one. Peace. You got drafted. You won Rookie of the Year. You win a Super Bowl. You guys had so much success in Denver for many, many years, and then you get traded. What was it like, this new phase of your career?
I was 32 years old, and I cried. Like, I couldn't stop crying because it really hit home that phase of my life was over with.